In human design, your cognition type, also known as your strongest sense or your super sense even, is basically the sense through which you are the most sensitive when it comes to reading and picking up on energy and just basically perceiving reality. So there are six cognition types, and whichever one you have is basically just the one that's strongest for you. So that doesn't mean that you don't have access to the other ones or, so you don't have these senses. So for example, I have touch as my strongest sense, but that doesn't mean that I don't have access to smell, taste, outer vision, inner vision, and feeling as well. That's the case for everybody, including you. But basically, your cognition would be the primary way that you attune to energy. So we are all sensitive to energy in one way or another, even if you think you are not. You were born with that, and you were born with a specific way that you are sensitive to energy. And that's really what your strongest sense is telling you. It's telling you, like, hey, when it comes to sensing this and also tapping into and calibrating to a certain energy, like there's a way that you will most easily feel that. So although traditionally when we're talking about cognition, we're talking about how you are sensing energy that's like already obviously around you or something like that, or like another person, something that's just obviously existent. It's also something that you can use to align with and tap into more easily the energetic state of something that you want to manifest. And remember, that's what manifestation is. It's, energetically aligning with that state of the situation or the reality that you want to live in, even if it doesn't look like that's what's here right now. So today I want to go over how you can use your cognition or your strongest sense to more easily align with that feeling, that energetic state of what it is you want to manifest, and thus use how you're built to manifest what you want in the easiest way possible. And before we dive into this, if you don't know what your cognition type is, that's pretty important. Luckily, you can learn that for free through my friend Van S. Henry's variable calculator. I will link that down below. You will learn what your cognition is along with information on all the other variables in your chart. Now, three things before we move forward very briefly. And also, I know as brief as I make this part, you're still going to skip past this and go to the timestamp. So one of these I'm going to put in the timestamp because listen, I can't blame you. A bitch does exactly that. But I know that y'all just skip past this stuff. Anyway, so the first thing is please keep in mind that these are things that I have noticed help people with certain cognitions. They are not hard and fast rules when it comes to manifesting or manifesting using your design. So if these don't feel right to you, or I didn't say something that does work for you, then ignore what I'm saying. Like, it's most important for you to follow your intuition and do what feels right, because that's probably your design telling you what to do anyway. Actually, I would say it is. So don't take my word for this. If you want to experiment with this, that's great. But if you already feel like, no, that's not right for me, do your thing. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I think you know best what is correct for you, as long as you trust yourself. The second thing is that understand that human design on the whole is not actually about manifesting. The only goal of human design is to help people know, accept, and live as their true, authentic, and undistorted self. And also reduce any suffering that comes from trying to be someone else who you think you have to be but are not, and thus live in this perpetual state of agony of like, why am I never enough, why am I never doing anything right, why does nothing work for me, etc., etc. But that is the only goal of human design. It's to help you be you, no matter where that takes you. And human design doesn't give anybody any promises. The founder of human design always said that. He was like, this isn't like, I'm not telling you that you'll get anything from this. He promised no one that they would manifest their dreams or whatever. And so that's not the goal of this system. Now, can you use this to manifest more easily? Yes. And that's what I like to use it for in many circumstances. Some people don't like that. Some people get really upset at me for that. And to them, I say, I get that. I get that. It's just their prerogative. That's okay. But I've seen this help lots of people, and this has helped me in my own life as well. So I like to share this kind of stuff with you. But just know that, like, if you look up cognition, usually you're not going to find anything about manifestation when it comes to that, because that's not what this is about. And the last thing that I want to let you know is if you are listening to me describe your cognition, which, by the way, comes with a little like special skill set and a set of abilities and things like that. If you're listening to that and you're like, I don't know if I'm actually that good at that. I don't know if that's a skill I have. Or yeah, sometimes I can do that, or sometimes I feel really tuned in with that, but not always. Something good to know is that cognition is directly tied to something that we call taste digestion. And taste digestion is all about how you consume the world. And I know that sounds like the same thing as cognition, but it's not. And here's why. So, your taste digestion is how you are built to consume, whether that is like actual food. So, oftentimes when we're talking about taste digestion, we're literally talking about how you eat, how you're able to digest, etc. But it's also about how you consume the world. So, like, kind of, in a way, like, how do you eat the world? How do you eat information? How do you take this stuff in a way that's aligned, healthy, and correct for you? Now, cognition, on the other hand, is essentially what gets activated, like the sense that gets activated when you are in alignment with your taste digestion type. So when you are eating correctly for yourself, when you are taking in information in a way that really serves you, instead of forcing yourself to do either in a different way, your super sense is really going to feel like a super sense or a superpower. It's going to be more honed in. It's going to feel cleaner, more accurate, and you will feel like this is something that you're good at, and you probably will connect with this more. However, if you're not consuming in a way that is supportive for you and your body, then this is going to be dulled. At the very best, it's going to feel like, oh, so I guess I'm kind of like that, or I guess I'm kind of good at that, or kind of sensitive to that sort of thing. And even if we take a step outside of human design, like we're not even considering this system, I've said this before about the mind-body connection. If you're not eating in a way that's supportive for you, like you're probably going to have brain fog. You're probably not going to feel as sensitized to the world around you in a way that's helpful to you. Like it's just you're not gonna have the foundation and the groundwork laid that you need to really be functioning at your highest level. And by the way, this is not to say that like you have to eat perfectly or really even master your taste digestion in order for your strongest sense to quote unquote be online. Most of us are living our designs in some ways anyway. Even if this just happens sometimes. Sometimes people aren't doing the stuff that's like the quote unquote primary stuff that you need to do first in order for these like higher levels of things to work. And those higher levels of things work right? For one reason or another, right? It's just worked out for them. So someone could have, smell cognition and be like, I totally don't eat in the way that I'm supposed to, apparently, but damn if I don't have a super sniffer. But with that said, let's go over the 6 cognition types. I'll give you a brief overview of what this represents. We're not going to go super in depth with it. And then I'm going to give you a few tips that you can try in order to use your strongest sense to align energetically with what you want to manifest. Let's start with smell cognition. So again, I'm going to say this for each of the cognitions, but remember, if what I tell you here doesn't feel right to you, if you're like, well, you didn't mention something else that actually really works for me, then please follow your own intuition. First and foremost, that is the most important part. Forget what I say, right? These are just things, these are just suggestions, things for you to try that often will work for somebody who has smell cognition. So if you have smell as your cognition or strongest sense, you basically have a super sniffer. You are somebody who is physically really good naturally at detecting certain scents, at detecting certain fragrances and odors, and even discerning between different ones. So, I mean, I could probably walk into a room, of different perfumes or different smells or whatever, or just one smell and maybe not pick up on that as much as somebody who has smell as their strongest sense. Like it's unavoidable for them. Like you guys are going to pick up on that stuff. You can't help it because you just have a very sensitive sense of smell. Now, when we're talking about this like energetically or metaphorically, people with smell cognition have great discernment. And this is very instinctual for them because smell cognition is connected to what we call the spleen center in human design, which is all about instinctual awareness. It's all about like survival awareness in the moment kind of thing of like, oh, I just know. So people with smell cognition, not only do they tend to have these really great instincts and sense of discernment about what's right or not for them, like they do that through smell. Now, the first thing that I would recommend to you, which may sound kind of silly, but it does make sense if you realize that smell is the primary way that someone like you is going to connect with the energy or the feeling of what it is having what they want, is to tap into the smells of what it is you want to manifest. And what I mean by that is you can, have like a candle that smells like a new car if you want a new car, right? And you light it as you're doing your visualizations, or maybe even instead of visualizing, if that's just not something that tends to work for you. Or just you could use a smell that for whatever reason evokes the feeling that you want to have when you have that thing. Or even then, you don't even have to have a literal smell. You can just kind of imagine the smell, right? I know when we say imagine, we usually think about visualization, but you can conjure up the memory of that smell or whatever, right? The whole point is that smell on the whole, and the smell of this thing, or the smell of the feeling, I guess you could say, of having that thing could be very, very helpful for you, and often is, because it's part of that sensory experience of manifesting for you. The second thing I'll recommend to you, which is much less literal, is to get to the quote unquote essence or to the bottom of what it is you want to manifest. Here's why I say that, and here's what I mean by that. So each of the 6 senses actually correlates to a profile line of the hexagram. So there are 6 profile lines, 1 through 6. They represent different energetic archetypes, which have their own skill sets, etc., and are related to certain energetic themes. And that means that the corresponding sense, it has something similar to that. So for smell, it's the investigator. It's getting to the bottom of things. It's understanding what everything else stands on and what the true core of that thing is. Like, what's the essence of it, and is basically the thing. So for someone with smell cognition, whether you know exactly what you want to manifest or not, it can be really helpful to get to the bottom of like, what it is you actually want. So what's the non-negotiable of this thing? What is the non-negotiable aspect or purpose or feeling of this thing you want to manifest? And even if you can't like cognitively recognize what that is, I want you to try to tap into that feeling, tap into that essence. You don't even have to have a word for it. You may know how you want to feel with it, but you can't put a label on that emotion. That's okay. Find that essence and connect to it in whatever way possible for you and whatever that means for you. And then lastly, this is actually a tip for like identifying other manifestation practices or even teachers. As someone with such a strong sense of instinctual discernment, I would recommend this for anybody. Trust yourself. But as someone with smell cognition, I will say that if somebody gives you some advice for manifesting, or recommends someone to you, and you're like, smell something off here, like this is not right, this is not right for me, you know that. So I really want you to trust that. Don't waste your time on that stuff. And if it is the right thing for you to use, and maybe it's just not right now, that technique or that principle will find you again. So for now, it's probably just not the right thing for you to use, if ever. I really do recommend that if you sniff something out, which is your gift as someone with smell cognition, then don't do it. Don't waste your time on that. Now let's talk about taste cognition. But before we do, and I'm saying this for each cognition type, if these practices don't feel right to you, or these tips just, they don't feel right, or I don't mention something that does work for you, then go follow your intuition, please. Like, that's the most important thing. First and foremost, forget what I'm saying, right? Like, human design is all about helping you trust yourself so that you can make the correct decisions for yourself. So if what I'm saying doesn't really match up, then don't do it. That's okay. Now, if you have taste cognition, just like I would say for someone with smell cognition, and I did say this, is a super sniffer, you are somebody who would be a super taster. So you are particularly attuned to the flavors and tastes of things. That's very literally speaking, you know, somebody with taste cognition is much more likely to be sensitive to how certain foods taste. Because of that, people with taste cognition can often get a sort of reputation for being picky or picky eaters, because they don't want, like, if a flavor is so strong to you, like, you're not going to want to put anything in there that doesn't taste good, because it's going to taste twice or 10 times as bad for you as it would for somebody else. Like, my mom doesn't have taste cognition, but she does have taste digestion, and that lady cannot put a single thing in her mouth that does not taste absolutely delicious. Like, she would literally rather starve. I have seen her put something in her mouth and be like, you know, like, she can't handle it. And that's normal for people who have taste in really any part of their chart. Now, when we're speaking more energetically or metaphorically about taste cognition, these people also tend to have great taste, or quite specific tastes. They also do tend to be picky overall with what it is they want. For people with taste cognition, it might take them some experimenting to find what it is they like and they don't like, but when they know, they really know, and they either really like this thing or they really don't like this thing. Also, something I didn't mention before when it came to the physical aspects of this is these people often have what we'd call clairgustance, which is like being psychic through taste, which sounds weird, but really can be the case for people with taste cognition. They get a lot of, they just get a lot of information through the mouth. So that includes breathing too. I have a friend who has taste cognition, and she says that when someone is saying something to her, if she breathes through her open mouth, she can like taste if that's true for her or not. And it will quote unquote taste good in her mouth or not taste good in her mouth. And that's how she knows whether this thing is right for her or not, or whether it's like true for her or not. So when it comes to using this to manifest more easily, here are a few tips that I would give you if you have taste cognition. First off, let yourself be picky. Really let yourself be picky. Do not let other people tell you that you are being too picky in what you want, because if you know, you know. And by the way, some people, even if they have taste cognition, they may not know all of the details about exactly what they want, but what they do know, they know. So I am going to tell you, like, please do not settle with that. You are meant to have specific tastes. The second thing I'll tell you is that remember, since you get information through the mouth, which sounds so weird, but since you get information through taste, when something like a manifestation practice or something that someone says about manifesting or like something someone suggests to you doesn't taste good in your mouth, and you're like, I don't like that. That doesn't feel like truth. That doesn't feel like it's right for me. I want you to follow that. On the other hand, if it does, if it's like, I like that. It's a tasty idea. Then I want you to go with that and trust that. If this is a better way of looking at it. If something gives you the ick, like really stay away from it. And the third thing that's quite metaphorical, but actually makes sense if you think about it, is if you have taste cognition, I would like you to look at life as if it's this buffet that you get to choose anything from. Like you have so many options and you get to choose exactly what it is you want. So ask yourself, what flavors of life do I want to experience? Like what kind of feelings or emotions or experiences are like yummy and they meet my tastes. People with taste cognition in one way or another do kind of see life as something to taste. So if that's the case, then like what flavors do you want on your plate? What do you really want to be experiencing and connect to it through? That's just like a way of thinking about it. It's kind of like a fun bonus tip. Connect to what it is you want through that. If you have outer vision cognition, first off, before I say anything about this, and I'm saying this for every cognition type, if what I'm telling you right now, it doesn't really line up for you, you don't feel like it's right, you're like, I've tried doing that, it doesn't really work for me, or something else actually works a lot better, then follow your intuition, follow your gut. It's all about what works for you. And if I say something that doesn't work for you, or I didn't say something that does, who am I? Don't listen to me, right? Human design is all about trusting yourself so that you can make the correct decisions for yourself anyway. So do what feels right for you first and foremost. That's the most important thing. So with outer vision cognition, when we're talking about this literally and physically, like these people have this gift for literally seeing things come together in front of them that aren't actually happening. So this isn't to say that like you have perfect eyesight or something like that. I know the one person I can think of who's coming to mind first, she wears glasses. So she does not have like perfect vision, literally, but she was a graphic designer is a graphic designer, and she was a photographer and everything, and she once told me that she could look at a bunch of images and certain ones would like catch her attention or even glow, and she could see them being dragged to certain places and she could see it all coming together, which is such a beautiful gift. It's so not something that I have as somebody who does not have outer vision cognition, but that's like a pretty literal way that outer vision cognition could show up for someone. Also, external aesthetics tend to be something that people with outer vision really value, and that really affects them. So being in a place that doesn't look beautiful for someone with outer vision or doesn't align with, what they want to see can be particularly jarring. And overall, they are just attuned to how things look, like actually looking at things in their external world. So when it comes to manifesting with outer vision, this may sound really obvious, and honestly, it kind of should be, but using visuals is usually so helpful for these people. So whether that is just like printing out a picture of what you want or that represents, how you want to feel, or making a vision board, and you can make this as specific as you want to or not. Like you may just want an image that evokes the feeling, or you may want an image that you're like, this is exactly what I want, or this is from my point of view. And that can work really well too. So I know somebody who has outer vision, different person, and she's a manifesting coach actually. And she wanted to have certain numbers on her social media profile. She wanted to have a certain number of followers, certain number of views on videos, shares, et cetera, et cetera. This is on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not super familiar with the metrics. But she took a screenshot, I think of it must have been someone else's profile that had the metrics that she wanted. And she focused on that and she looked at it and acted as if it was her profile. And eventually she hit those on her own. And she took a screenshot of that afterwards and they were very closely matched. I think she might have even had more than the one that she took a picture of. So that kind of thing can be so helpful for people with outer vision. The other thing I'll tell you, and not everybody is resourced to do this, so again, none of this is like you have to, but you don't have to do this if you can't. Go to places that feel beautiful for you. Again, aesthetics are very important for people with outer vision. So the more you can see the kind of thing that you want or see things that put you in an energetic state that feels really good to you, the better. But again, you don't have to do this if you can't. If you have inner vision cognition, first off, before we even dive into this, and I'm saying this for each of the cognition types, if what I'm saying doesn't feel right to you, if I suggest something and you're like, I don't like that, that feels wrong, or I've tried that and it doesn't work, it feels hard, or I don't say something that does work for you and you'd prefer to do that, trust yourself. Your intuition and what feels right to you first and foremost is the most important thing. Trust your body. Human design is all about learning to trust your body and how it talks to you in order to make the right decisions for yourself. So if that's the case, please trust yourself. You do not have to do any of these things anyway to manifest, a million ways to manifest. But I just wanted to let you know that. So when we're talking about inner vision cognition, I'm very jealous of you guys, just as I'm very jealous of people with outer vision cognition, which I don't need to be. Everybody has their own gifts for their cognition. But for y'all, you tend to be people who are very good at visualizing. So whereas someone with outer cognition, it's about like looking outside of them and seeing things come together. People with inner vision are the ones who can close their eyes and see it come to life. It's all about the internal world. So these people tend to get a lot of insights or information or connect to what they want to manifest through just closing their eyes and visualizing or letting an image come to them. Like you don't have to conjure it yourself. Oftentimes things will just come to people with inner vision. Now, when we're speaking about this more energetically or metaphorically, people with inner vision cognition also tend to be really good at quote unquote holding the vision or having a vision for themselves or other people because it's so clear to them, even if it's not here in the external world. I actually know someone who has inner vision and she had a group coaching program called The Vision, which was literally all about like, I know there's something for you. I know that like your dream, it's real. We're going to hold the vision for you and we're going to help you achieve that by keeping your eyes on the prize. It's so funny to me. It's so fitting for her. Now, when it comes to manifestation, I think this probably sounds pretty obvious, but you guys being great at visualizing, I'd say use the crap out of that. Like as often as you can, like close your eyes, or if you don't need to close your eyes, that's fine. But visualize what it is you want, whether that's from your like personal point of view, driving the car or holding the hand of your person or sitting at your desk in your dream job. But the point is that you can really connect to that energetic state. You have a gift for this through using your mind's eye, through seeing this reality through your mind's eye. The second thing I'll tell you is that as someone with inner vision, what you see and feel on the inside could be so drastically different from what you see on the outside because you're the first person to have the vision. So I would tell anybody to do this, but honestly, if you're seeing something you don't like, don't put your energy in it by looking at it or focusing on it or thinking about it all the time. Again, that's a practice and manifestation anyone can use. But for someone with inner vision, like you really need to hold the vision for yourself and know that if you can see it on the inside, you'll be able to see it on the outside eventually. I just say this because you might be able to see it so vividly on the inside and look around and be like, yikes, that's not what it's like. Am I delusional? No, you're absolutely not delusional. You just have a gift for seeing this reality in a way that other people probably can't conjure in their mind's eye. If you have feeling cognition, before I say anything about that, and I'm saying this for each of the cognition types, if what I'm about to tell you doesn't really feel right for you in terms of manifesting, you're like, I don't like that, that doesn't feel right, or I've tried that and it doesn't work, or I don't say something that does work for you, please just follow your own intuition. Do what feels right to you. Human design is all about learning how your body speaks to you and trusting that in order to make the right decisions for yourself. So if what I'm saying doesn't align with that, if it's not what your body is saying is right for you, then follow your body over me every time. Like first and foremost, what feels right to you is the most important, and what works for you is the most important. So if you have feeling cognition, you are somebody who is very sensitive to vibes. You are the kind of person who can probably walk into a room and be like, what happened here, right? And it's funny because this reminds me of the reflector energy type. Those people are all quite sensitive to energy. And the only person I know who has feeling cognition is a reflector, but you do kind of see some overlap there too. So as a side note, if you're somebody who has feeling cognition and you're like, well, why do I feel like a reflector? This could be why, because people with feeling cognition are literally like very sensitive to just energy overall. And the way that they feel that, it's not this like, it's not, well, none of these are tangible, but it's not this like very clear cut way of like taste or seeing it or whatever. It's like, I just know, like, I just feel this in my body. I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the vibes. This is also another reason why many people with feeling cognition, they don't really love being around technology because they're very sensitive to like the energy from the technology. Technically, they're supposed to be more sensitive to things like EMFs, Like those might be particularly stressful for their nervous system more so than it would be for somebody else. And they would be more aware of it. Like they would feel it more. So they often avoid that. But if you are somebody who does not, who has feeling cognition and you don't do that, I would really recommend that you try doing some kind of online or like tech detox and see if you feel better or see if that affects you in any way. Because especially if you feel really overloaded, overwhelmed, like your mind, your brain, body connection, it's all on the fritz. It could be because you're just like overloaded with so much of this energy because you're very sensitive to frequency. And then overall, like when it comes to people or situations or places, like these people just tend to be much more discerning about like the vibes there. Like, are the vibes off? These people, just like someone with smell cognition, would be like, something smells off. Like, I can really pick up on this scent and it's like bothering me because I'm so tuned into it. It would be the same with someone with feeling cognition. So if they're walking into a room or a party or something and they're like, this is wrong. Like, I just really don't like being here. There's some vibe here. There's some person here. Their energy is just wrong for me. It's going to be harder for them to experience that because they are so sensitized to it. Now, when it comes to manifestation, the first thing I'll tell you is that it's not that you couldn't use something like visualization or vision boards or any of the other senses, but for someone with feeling cognition, it's literally about how much can you just directly tap into the vibe? How do you want to feel when you have the thing that you want to manifest? It's not really about anything other than that. So don't get stuck in your head. As much as possible, focus on what that feeling, what that frequency would be like for you, and just bathe in that as much as possible. So if you can't visualize or are not good at that, or any of these other kinds of things, if you just can't get into that, just know that you don't really have to. No one really has to, but there are certain people for whom it's going to be easier. It's going to be an easier avenue to use visualization or looking at something or even touching something. You don't need to do that. You can bypass all that stuff and just focus on how do I feel and know that that is more than enough. The second thing I'll tell you is because you are so very sensitive to vibes and frequencies, I suggest that you make room for those vibes and frequencies by cutting out the stuff that feels chaotic, overwhelming, overstimulating, because then you're just going to be too like weighed down by all that stuff and too caught up in that stuff to really feel what it is you want. And then the third thing I'll tell you, which is kind of like a bonus, is if you can do some kind of like digital detox or something like that, like if your job permits it, if your lifestyle permits it, then do that. Try that and see how much cleaner your frequency and your energy feels, and if it's easier to tap into the feeling that you want to have. Last but not least, we have touch cognition. And before we dive into what that means, really quickly, I want to tell you what I'm telling each of the cognition types in this video, which is if I say something with these manifestation tips, if I suggest something to you and it doesn't feel right, it just doesn't line up, or you've tried it before and it didn't work, it was really hard and effortful, or I don't say something that has worked for you in the past, then you don't have to do this. It's totally okay. First and foremost, I want you to trust your intuition. Human design is about trusting that your body knows what's right for you. Also about teaching you like how to listen to your body, but it's basically like you know the answer, and so you know better than I do. This is just a set of practices that you can use in order to more easily tap into that energy or frequency of the thing you want to manifest. They are not necessary though. You don't have to. But anyway, so if you have touch cognition, like myself, then you are somebody who gets a lot of information about the world through physical touch, whether that is a person, something you're eating, a place, that you are in. Touch is just very important and very helpful in learning about something. For someone with touch as their cognition, it's very unsurprising that many of us have physical touch as, a love language. It's how we like to connect with the people we like. That does not mean we want to be touched by everyone. And in fact, people with physical touch as their cognition, or just touch, excuse me, tend to be very picky about who they will let touch them. That is absolutely the case for me, especially as I've gotten older, because I've learned that I learn a lot about people, or I pick up a lot of energy from them through touching them. So for example, there was this guy who was a friend of one of my friends, and he was not a bad guy by any means, but I just didn't like him, and I could tell that I didn't like him immediately. And one day he was like trying to get my attention, and he very lightly, so ever so lightly, the guy did not grab me, so lightly touched me on the shoulder. And when I tell you, I was like, well, like, absolutely not. Like, I just, it's like, don't do that. We're just quite sensitive to that kind of thing. So people with touch cognition also transmit energy through touch and transmit information. So we can pick it up and also transmit it. And that means that we can transmit healing energy. So somebody with physical touch, like whether it's because they're like a physical therapist or a massage therapist or something like that, giving you some kind of body work to help you heal, or it's just like they're giving you a loving touch, like a hand on the shoulder. These people can leave this kind of energetic trace through touch. They imbue you with something. So when it comes to touch cognition, this shouldn't come as a surprise, but getting into your body and how something feels physically to you. So not just like the vibe of it, but like literally how would I feel as I embody this? That's really helpful for someone who has this as their strongest sense. So that could be that you go out and you go for a walk, like where you just are embodying being the person that you want to be. Or it could be that I keep using cars as an example because everyone wants to manifest a car, right? It's like the number one thing. Let's say that you want a car and you go to the lot and you do a test drive to like literally feel it, right? To physically feel how that is for you. Or you go to an open house of a house that's like so similar to your dream house, or maybe is your dream house. If you can, physically experiencing that thing as much as possible. Now, if you can't physically go somewhere or get in the car or pet the dog or be in the house, whatever, that's fine. You don't need to. What I would recommend you do is when you're, doing your imaginal acts or you are conjuring up the feeling of having your manifestation, or even if you're visualizing, add that physical feeling. Like, how would it feel in your body to have that thing? How are you feeling in your body? Like, how are you moving? How are you embodying yourself as that person who has the thing? Because again, that's how you tap into that energy of having the thing. That's like one of the primary senses that you're going to experience that manifestation through. The other thing I'll recommend, which I think is so fun, I love doing this, is creating something like a talisman or a potion or casting a spell or something like that and imbuing it with your intention. Because remember, as someone with touch cognition, you have a gift for transmitting energy through touch. So I like to make potions. I think it's really fun and say like, this is my money manifestation potion. It doesn't matter what the potion is because mine are usually like lemon water with some lavender and cucumber juice. So it's not actually about what you put in it. It's about the intention that you have as you're creating it. Because remember, it's all about this physical interaction with it in some way or another. And then lastly, this part might sound obvious, but if it's not, get out of your head because that is not where you're going to manifest from. You are going to manifest from embodiment. So I want you to focus on what feels good in your body as much as possible. I know as somebody who has had many issues with body image and weight, etc. in the past, that if that is the case for you and like your dream body or something is what you're trying to manifest, that might feel kind of difficult, but just focus on whatever makes you feel 1% better. That's what my coach always says. How can you feel just 1% better in your body? Because that's where the answer is. It's about feeling that vibe in your body. So as much as possible, connect with what feels physically good right now. I do not care what it is. Could be anything, just 1% better. So that's it for me. I hope this helped. Let me know down in the comments if any of these resonate with you, or if you want to try them, or if you have tried them and you already do them and you're like, yeah, this works so well for me. Let me know. I'm really interested to know. And also, if you want to learn more about variable, I don't have like a ton of content on that. I do have a video on the 6 motivations, which people seem to really like. But if you do want to dive deeper into variable, I mentioned Van S. Henry in the intro and her free variable calculator. She has so much information on the variables. Like, this is her forte. This is her thing. This is what she does. And so if you want to learn more, I highly, highly recommend that you follow her on Instagram, get on her email list. She has a lot of really good free information about your variables. And also she has a course on it too, if you'd like to really understand this at a deeper level. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like. If you want more free human design content on the reg from me, then I recommend you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you don't want to do either of those, that's okay. Thanks for stopping by. But otherwise, that's it from me. As always, you rock, and I will talk to you next time.